now we really are out of time. Alfonso Cuarón, everybody. The Oscar-nominated star, Yalitza Aparicio. And her translator. Oscar-nominated co-star, Marina de Tavira. Production designer, Eugenio Caballero. And sound mixer, Henighan. Have a seat. Yalitza, I actually just want to start with you. What was your first conversation with Alfonso about this movie? What was the first thing you guys talked about?
La primera vez fue en un casting que, por cierto, no lo reconocí. Bueno, no sabía quién era.
The first time was a casting in which I did not recognize him at the time.
What was your first thought on meeting her? What do you remember about the first conversation?
The first conversation was, I think we just talk about life, talk about, I was asking questions of where you were from, and what you do, what you like to do, what about the family, all of that stuff. And it was very casual, no?
Sí, fue como más de amigos de hace tiempo que se ponían al tanto de todo lo que había pasado en su vida.
Yes, it felt more like old friends catching up about life.
Because it was not a process of casting as if having a conversation about the film. It was more about just it was about getting to know each other and having a sense if something was like I have to say, from the moment I have seen her in video, I was highly intrigued and I was excited. And then when she walked into the room, it was immediate that I start my heart started pounding, because I said, okay, I think she's Cleo, and I was then terrified that she would not want to do it.
Why are you terrified that she would not want to do it?
Because she didn't care about it. when finally she accepted doing it, she just said it just because she had finished her studies as a teacher, and the job applications were not happening for another 6 or 8 months. And she said, I don't have anything better to do. So,
I'm sorry. Just such a powerful story. But what did you see in her? It's obvious, besides seeing Cleo, you saw something in her you thought belonged on screen.
There was a couple of things. One was, the problem for me casting this film is I was trying to find people that could look alike as much as possible to real people, but also feel like them. And it's something very intangible, I'm talking about someone that I know all my life. It's one of my oldest bonds of affection. And and when she walked in, I just felt that. I just felt something very easy. Then we started talking, and it was very easy. It was very natural. And then what struck me was, she was completely taken out of her normal context, and she was fearless. And because that's the thing of Yalitza, she's absolutely fearless. And together with that amazing generosity and openness and sweetness, is this immense, you see those eyes with that immense intelligence. There was something there that was very immediate, but I think a lot of that was the fearlessness, that whatever I proposed to her, she says, well, let's try it.
What do you remember about the first day of shooting?
El primer día que estaba muy nerviosa.
This day I was really nervous.
La película fue grabada de forma cronológica, así que empieza tal y cual con esa escena.
The film was shot in chronological order, so it starts with that scene.
Recuerdo que la cámara enfocaba mis pies y todo lo que, así como va apareciendo, y tenía tantos nervios que decía, no tengo que temblar porque los pies me temblaban, porque si no se va a ver en la cámara.
I remember that first shot when the camera was focused on my feet and it moved up my body. I was telling myself, I better not be nervous and shake because the camera's going to capture that.
Yeah, I would ask her about the second day.
You know what? Can I ask you about the second day?
Second day, she was telling the crew what to do.
That's what you asked you, the next one you're going to direct. Let me ask you, Maria, what was your first conversation with Alfonso? Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember the day I met him. It was like at the end of a very long casting process. I had just learned the day before that he was going to be the director of the film
The day before?
that I had been auditioning for. Yeah, I had been auditioning for months. And then the day before I met him, it was the day I learned it was a film, it was going to be directed by him. So I was, of course, nervous to meet him, but I was thinking to just go and do it. I mean, just you're there. Whatever happens, there's no way back. So like, try to leave all the nervousness behind. And we did work a scene. It was like an actual scene we were working, and the things he said that day remained with me for the whole process. What he said about Sofia and the way she holds pain like really underneath and tries not to show it. That's what he said that day, and I think that was something that we worked through the whole process of doing the film.
What do you remember about liking about her? Because obviously there's a strong personal connection here too.
No, with her, again, it's my other greater and oldest bond of affection that she was representing, and it was a complete contrasting experience with Yalitza, because suddenly I'm confronted with a highly trained actor, but that the moment that we start talking about this whole thing about, I think first we played it and you played it showing your pain.
Yeah,
And then I said, well, that's the thing, is that people who are in pain, people don't show the pain. And that's the interesting thing. The interesting about humans is that the masks that we create to cover our pain to other people. And then she did it, and it was just, but it was not that it took a while. It was immediate what she was doing, and I just, it was just, and then after that, you spent some time together, right? It was, I made them wait.
yeah. That was another day. They called me again, and they said, "Well, wait here." And Yalitza was there, only Yalitza, and they left us alone for a while. And so we started talking immediately, and I think we created a bond right away. We started talking about life, about your nephew that was recently born, and she was really worried because she had left him, and that she wanted to see him, and that she was worried about that he was just a newborn baby.
So she did have something better to do in this film. But anyway,
just want to say about the fearlessness of Yalitza. I just want to make everybody clear that Yalitza doesn't speak Mixteco.
Yes. I want to also talk to you about that scene on the beach where she goes out to rescue the children. I mean, that is, and she doesn't swim.
Well, she doesn't swim, but she doesn't speak Mixteco, and she performed a big chunk of her performance in Mixteco language. And she is the thing that when I said, yes, Yalitza, but you know what, it's important that this character speaks Mixteco. It says, well, I have a background in Mixteco, but unfortunately, I'm not fluent, I don't speak Mixteco. Nancy, her best friend who plays Adela, she's fluent in Mixteco, but not me. Says, well, but can you make it work? And she says, okay.
You found the perfect person for this. But I do want to talk about that scene at the beach because that really is about pain coming out. I mean, pain, her holding that pain in for so long until that moment. Then you actually letting your guard down. So you actually really seeing her where you never seen her until that moment. Talk about staging that scene. That's really, have you talked about then those two guys too?
Well, as everything in the film, we roughly block the thing, just the basic positions. Because part of the idea is that everything was going to be about randomness. I mean, with each actor, usually I would give contradictory indications to all of them to create certain chaos in the set. And in this one, the problem was that we didn't get too far for most of the day because there was a long pier that we built to be able to put a crane going from the Balap all the way deep into the sea. And the day before there was a tropical storm that weakened the structure of the pier. And so the crane, the rails, the crane was over rails, and the crane kept on derailing like 40 seconds, 1 minute into the shot. And in reality, we didn't get to do a full take until the very last moment. And unfortunately, was the whole location was designed for that time of the day, and in that precisely time of the day is the moment that we got the shot.
So you got that sunset you wanted just because it was the last shot of the day.
Yeah, but my hope was that by then I would have done 6-7 takes that I would be happy, and then have that one. And then it was the only take that we had. We didn't want to keep on going because we figured it could be dangerous, with the crew and everybody in that pier. And then we decided to stop, and I have to say I was very unhappy about the take because it was the only one I got. As a director, you always feel that. I remember that night reviewing the take and says, well, this is a disaster, but it's fine. Because we could not go back. We were traveling back the next morning to Mexico City.
What do you guys remember about that day and that shooting? I'm sorry, if you Marina, what do you?
Well, exactly what they're saying. There had been rain and we hadn't been able to do it. So when we were finally there and we knew what we had to do, but all what acting could be, we didn't know. I mean, and it was like, what would happen? We knew what we had to go through, but you never know what's gonna really happen at the very moment. So for me, I always talk about that scene as being at the Olympics, because when you only have like one opportunity, maybe two. So it was like, we have to get it right, but we also I don't have to think about it, because if I think about it, it won't come. So for me, really, that scene, now that I see it back, I think that it's when Sofia finally realizes that Cleo lost a child. Even if she knows it, sometimes we know things in another way, but really know it, and that she just saved hers. So that's what I think that really came to me at that moment.
Because that's the scene when you guys really become a family, everybody. That's what happens there. And so I want to ask you about that. What was that like for you shooting that?
Fue algo complicado. Esta fue una escena donde me avisaron antes que había que entrar a la playa para defender a los productores. Me preguntaron si sabía nadar y yo dije que sí.
This is a complicated scene. They did tell me ahead of time that it was going to involve going into the ocean, and so the producers asked me if I knew how to swim, and to save face, I said yes.
She's a real actor, knows how to ride horses.
She would dance backwards, all that stuff.
Bueno, es que donde yo nací y crecí no hay mar. Sabía yo nadar, pero en un río que te lleva la corriente y no tiene más complicación.
Where I grew up, there isn't really access to the ocean, so when I swam, it was really in a river, and it was a matter of going with the flow of the river.
Y aquí, en cambio, cuando llegué y vi el oleaje del mar, que Alfonso dice que no estaba tan hondo, pero la diferencia en estaturas no es la misma.
When I got there and I really saw the waves and the movement of the ocean, even though Alfonso says that they weren't that big, I mean, there's a difference in height here.
tener todo eso, saber que había que entrar al mar, ver que las condiciones del clima no habían sido tan favorables un día antes, eran muchas cosas que pasaban en mí, más del miedo de entrar, y aparte era una toma tan larga que pues sabía que lo tenía que hacer.
Knowing all of that and knowing that I had to go into the ocean and that the conditions had not been favorable and that it was a complicated and long shot, then it was stirring up a lot of emotions in me, but I knew that I had to do it.
Recuerdo que cuando se dio ya el momento en el que se logró completar la toma, conforme iba sucediendo, los niños eran tan increíbles, ellos sí sabían nadar, pero llegó un momento en el que a mí se me olvida eso. Y lo único que pasa por mi mente es, ya no veo a los niños. Ya no encontraba a ninguno de los dos. Todavía volteé a buscar así como alguien que entre. Y lo único que tuve que hacer fue entrar e ir a jalarlos. En ese momento mi corazón ya estaba latiendo al máximo porque ya estaba yo metiéndome al agua. Y lo único que quería era sacarlos.
I mean, the children were great, they didn't know how to swim, and as we are deep into the scene, I lost sight of them, I didn't see them, so I did get worried, and at that moment, it became a mission to just get them out. So I kept moving forward, and my mission was to pull them out.
Well, rather than asking you about endangering any more actors, I'll move over to Henighan. And what's so remarkable about this is I've talked with a long conversation with Guillermo about this, and the film, like so many of your films, is like a mural. And everything at one level. We're basically moving back and forth across all the time. And what kind of challenge is that for you in terms of production design?
Well, we know, everything started with Alfonso. Basically, we spoke about the things. We didn't really watch any reference or anything. We just basically talked about the spaces, the subjects that we wanted to do. But I did not have an exact idea of how the scene would be shot. Like that was something that we said, well, we have to have these elements, we have to really really portray portray the different words that we basically shot, and then there was Alfonso some days before saying, well, we're gonna have probably a long shot here or a long shot there, but the challenge was that because of that, there was always the demand of dressing everything to the detail that, like for example, we built the whole Insurgentes Avenue where she crossed the street going towards the cinema.
Yes.
That is a full build. We started from
So all the
scratch.
storefronts, and you built all that stuff out.
We built everything from in there. It was a big set. It was 2 blocks and basically all built physically. Most of them built physically and then completed with digital tools. But it was a huge set. But every single store, every single shop was dressed up to the detail, because we really didn't know how would be the exact, how we're gonna shoot them exactly. So that allowed us to really work in different layers and different levels of detail all time. So it was good for the actors, and that happened in the house as well. We knew that in that house we needed to shoot a lot. So, but not exactly how how exactly Alfonso would place the camera and place the scene. He knew it very clear, but he was giving me, some sort of information of what was important. But then we had to complete the puzzle, and in order to complete the puzzle, we had to really take care of the details. So, for example, in the house, we did dress all the drawers for, in case the camera would look at that also, but also because one of the first premises, Alfonso remembered when we started saying that we would shoot it all with natural light. You know, it was at the beginning, before we really started to get the language of the film, was what about we leave the actors there in the house for, you know, by themselves to even have, you know, dress, if they can dress themselves, or so everything was prepared for that. That means that all the costume or the wardrobe was in the closets or in the drawers, and all the little props were all there, so they could really get familiar with them. So that was a very interesting thing in terms of. So that allowed us then when he shot the way he shot, everything was somehow covered, and with the precision that we needed.
Yeah, but also I'd say that because of they didn't have a certainty of how we were going to shoot, but also they didn't have the screenplay.
No.
So it was.
Why not?
Because it was part of the process of this. That was for me the interesting thing of this process is it was partly that. I mean, nobody had the screenplay. We shot in chronological order. Everybody was learning as we were going what the film was about.
You didn't want them to get too far ahead, so.
Not only that, I didn't want them to resolve, you know, just to resolve pages. Everything that was, I think, enriching the whole thing was with Eugenio. The conversations were about. We had certain paradigms that it was about the class distinctions.
Yes.
That we need to make very clear the class distinctions.
A political comment also.
A political comment and
Starting
the
from
background.
scrubbing the floor of the garage, I mean, there's a political comment right there.
Well, it has to do with that, but also in terms of which elements that you see in one place are going to be mirrored in a different way in another one. An easy example is the child who's an astronaut. That in one is a perfectly dressed astronaut with a fancy clothes in this beautiful little pond in the forest, and then you go to the shanty towns, the slums, and you see this other kid with a bucket in the head. You know, it's the same dream. They share the same dream, not the same possibilities. You know, so it was a lot of the conversations were like that. So, and the great thing is, if it was scripted, it would be something about solving what is there. Suddenly, it was so enriching. It was so rich that Eugenio would come with, okay, but you were talking about this concept. What if here we do that? You know, it was because it was not so deterministic about what we were going to do.
Yeah, it was not following exact script, but we were basically talking about subjects, about ideas. And the beautiful thing of that is that I had, because I didn't have the script, then I needed to have the information somehow, and it just came by long conversations with Alfonso. So, in my experience, in any film that I have done, I never had such long conversations with a director. You know, like I mean, normally you have a lot of conversations, but really we went deep in that, and also the strolls in the city when we were basically looking for locations. There were a lot of ideas that were coming there. So I remember Alfonso saying about the tiles of his house. He was describing those tiles, and I had an idea because I have seen them too, and even in my grandfather's house there was something like that. But then when we were once walking looking for a location, he would basically start talking like something like, oh, like that, those are the tiles, you know, that kind of thing. So then it was, how do we get those tiles done? And, you know, so it was a fantastic process.
And a lot of that was the conversation about spaces, but the spaces not just as the area, but the power that encapsulates spaces, the power that
How lived in her quarter street is compared to the rest of the house, which doesn't feel that kind of thing. Yes, exactly. And they go into that shanty town, or even being in that movie theater and going out to the street. I've got to ask you, Craig, too, about your collaboration. I mean, because the sound is such, and when we hear the movie almost before we see it, don't we?
Everything here was applied to the sound as well. The amount of detail, the amount of clarity, all of it was from Alfonso and his ideas and his memories. And similar to getting excited about that tile, it would be the same way with the sweet potato vendor or the knife sharpener. It needed to be very exact, very the right sounds. The dogs were another big one. in terms of how they barked and how they barked at night versus how they barked in the morning, and where the location was, and the call and response and all those sort of things. So all the detail that was applied to everything else while shooting was also applied in post-production.
So I was thinking too, Henry was talking about that street scene, what that, I mean, the sounds there, they changed.
They changed, the whole idea was its life, right? The whole idea was using the theater and using Adobe Atmos and our mixing ability to have everything panning and everything moving and having a geography of where you are, so the scenes you really feel and you're immersed.
Even the sounds of the music, I mean, going for that kind of flat, tinny mono sound.
Yeah, all in the mono was a big discussion, how much EQ, how squeezed they were, how did the car radio sound versus the television.
The slightly unreal sound of the full stereo of that music when the father comes on. It's
right, exactly, right. It's for a dramatic effect of how to make that, and then when you cut outside, you hear more of the engine and all those sort of things. But it all comes from Alfonso's memory of how he remembered things and how he wanted the sound.
We can talk about that a little bit too, because I was really struck by how the sounds are really about you hear the love of keeping that galaxy going. It should have been retired a couple of years before that, but you hear those cylinders scraping, trying to pull into the garage, and
that was
a fun one. That was sort of the first one that was the first big scene that we mixed, and sort of taking a long amount of time to get all the perspectives correct, and inside, outside, but on the right side of the car to the left side, it was very, very detailed. But that scene, I think, set up the whole sort of language, the sonic language of sort of the rest of the movie, of how we were going to do each scene.
And you recognize the thing I'm glad you said about the music, because we were very specific about there's so many sources that are mono, because they're coming from the little radio.
Absolutely, yes.
And sometimes if you're mixing and you play it and it's like, ooh,
it's awful sounding.
I know, harsh.
But it would move, and then you'd move it.
But in the context of everything, I mean, if you see it individually, it's harsh. But if you see it in the overall of the universe, it's part of our reality. And that as a contrast with the stereo inside the car,
yes.
or the stereo when they play the Yvonne Elliman music in that is a stereo, a proper stereo, rather than the little radio that Cleo will
How the
have.
sound kind of sort of phases in the movie theater, and for me, this leaves it. I mean, just what you do with the sound in that theater. I was really struck by that, just watching that.
Oh yeah, far away, echoey, and the way that those big theaters used to be before our old systems. You used to have two speakers in the front,
right behind the screen. Yeah.
That it was just the echo all the way back.
No, I guess we should go to audience questions now. Is there time for that? How are we doing this? Am I going to do another thing and do it on the microphone, or is there a microphone here? Actually, are there questions? And let's start here in the front. Yes, sir.
Yeah, could you, Alfonso, could you elaborate on your use of pans to tell this story?
Visually or sound-wise?
Well, both, but primarily visually, I guess.
Yeah, the whole concept from the beginning was this idea that camera is this ghost from the present that visits the past. And it's just hovering, detached, not getting involved, but moving around with a certain curiosity of what's going on, kind of independent from the action itself. And that was part of the principle of those pans. It was about, I wanted to honor time and space, and space, I'm not talking only about the geographical place. It's just, the space as that, time and space are two things that we're bound to them. In other words, we're limited by time and space. But that time and space also puts together this experiment that is our own life and our own existence. So it constrains, but sometimes gives possibility. So it was how to honor that sense of, time. Yes, probably about honoring the feeling of the time. Allowing things to happen, and for you to have the consciousness of time. For some people, maybe they find it a little bit unnerving. That it's only some tiles and nothing happens, and it's just time flowing. But it was part of what we were trying to honor. And the other thing is this space in which you think that you're constrained with that space, but you always realize that there's space farther away. And also, as a camera comes from, this goes from the present, in the past. One thing is the point of view of the camera, but the other thing is the oral perception of the camera. So you are there visiting that past, and you are seeing the specific point of view, but that doesn't mean that you don't partake from that space. So that space continues behind you. You know, that's the reason we did all of that stuff of that universe.
That was the primary focus of sound, was to extend beyond this and make you feel you were there, right there.
Which you really take your time to do. I always thought that's why you take so long with that opening, just to create that soundscape.
Absolutely.
Give time to people who wants to leave the theater too.
Oh, you silver tongue charm on you. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Omotala. I'm from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. We've never had any movie go out to try to get into the Oscars. Never. And we've always worried about the fact that do we have to have all the cast and crew come from that country for foreign movies? So are all your cast and crew from Mexico, for example? Or did you bring some from Hollywood, for example?
I'm from Canada. I'm Canadian.
Well, Steve
is Brooklyn.
Yeah, and Steve Scott, that is our amazing colorist, the finishing artist of visual finishing artist, meaning the one who gives the tones of grays in the black and white. Those were the Hollywood crew. The rest of it was pretty much done by our Mexican crew.
And Adam.
And Adam, of course, our editor. Yeah, but he's a Brit.
So to answer that question, you don't have to have 100% crew.
I think you have to have a good movie.
Okay.
We have a question back here.
Yeah.
You have a question back there? Yeah.
Yes, there is. Hello. Amazing movie. Absolutely staggeringly good. I would like to just ask a question about sound. Hi, Greg.
Hi.
You and Skip did an amazing job.
Thank you.
I was texting him the whole time. It's the third time I've seen the movie. Did you choose, Alfonso, not to use the score so it would be completely naturalistic, the movie? Because there is no score. There's just source.
That was from the beginning was the conversation, and we always refer that what the score is the sound.
It's the sound, the soundscape.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. It doesn't need any music. It's brilliant.
And that's something that I have to say, that was the concept, and then the way that between Sergio, Craig, and Skip understood the flow of it, and the right combination of silences and
Space,
sounds and
space.
far away and layer and
Layers,
yeah, because the whole thing is that it's amazing. These new Dolby systems like the Atmos is just extraordinary. In the sense, the problem is that I think it's not necessarily always used in its best in its true potential, because everybody uses it for loudness. When in reality, what it allows you is to spread, to create a sense of a dimensionality, no?
Well, like I was talking about with the engine and that space, you hear the echoes, and there's a delicacy to this, isn't it?
Yes, it's all the delicate things that allows you. But if you had a score through that section, it would have been a hell of a lot harder to feel all those perspectives and to feel all those changes, which, I think that's what Alfonso's alluding to.
The only experiment that we did that's amazing is that the whole scene in the water on the beach,
Yeah.
we played once with the theme of Jaws as she's walking. I have to say it works. That's the tension.
And on that note, let's thank the group from ROMA for being here.